missing is Junior Ronda.
I went to bed at like 3:30 my time and had to wake up at 7:30 my time.
Seems like a bad idea.
Should I start streaming now, or...?
Yeah, go ahead and start streaming now, so, Atosh can get your link up.
Do you want me to do the same, Bob?
Sure.
Alright, streaming.
Okay, I'm streaming as well. Is there a reason Atosh is not?
We got this. Atosh is in art. Let's all go to art.
You should just join us up here.
TD is still here, so we're fine.
Chicken Steve, you signed up to be taught, right?
Say again?
Goddamn yawns. Chicken Steve, you're one of the guys that signed up for part 1, right?
Yep. I'm gonna leave after part 1 because that's like 2 o'clock a.m.
Is it really?
I guess.
Yeah, I'm still going strong usually at 2 o'clock a.m., but I understand.
I have church tomorrow.
Right, it's a day later.
Yeah.
Time zones, how do they work?
Alright, well, we're only missing 2 people that were supposed to be teaching.
I would have stayed up till 5, but you know.
Those people aren't important, Bob.
Yeah, we're missing Uber Dragon and Sergeant Walwut. And Junior Ronda, that bastard.
Itosh's stream is just like so confusing. I'm gonna turn the sound off. I heard myself and I'm like, who the crap is that?
The ones that we should have up, I guess, are Vera, Chicken, and Jarek.
Hey,
We're
Kai.
all in Rumble, so that's good, because that means that everyone can hear you guys.
Hello.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm here. I was just checking sound levels for a while, so I couldn't listen to this and the stream.
That sounds good.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey.
Hey, Chicken. Your stream is not loading for me for some reason.
It seems to be working fine for me. A bit laggy, but...
It's just stuck on loading video. Loading video.
I think it's a Twitch issue.
I've refreshed like 4 or 5 times.
It's working for me, Atosh.
Maybe it's because you have like 5 streams open. Wait.
Didn't have any issue with multiple streams last night.
Yeah.
So do we
It seemed to work the last time we checked.
Okay, now we're only missing Sergeant Walwut, and then, I mean, I guess we could potentially just get started whenever and just have him show up a little later. It's fine. Assuming he remembered it all.
Did we get an announcement on the main sub, or are we out of luck on that?
I
don't think we did.
I never got a
Should we
response
just
from
make a
the
small post and see
moderators.
where it goes?
I sent them a mod mail, but they never responded to me, and that was like a week ago, so.
Oh, bastard.
I say we just make a post and not worry about it. Any volunteers?
Yeah, Vera,
I guess I could do it.
Vera, do you think you could, you can't sticky other people's posts, can you?
No.
Do you think you could make a sticky post on our sub saying that the stream is going on right now?
Yeah, I can make one on our sub, and then somebody else can link the main sub one to it.
I can make the main sub one happen, but I just need one on the regular sub with some links back to like all the shit that's going to be happening, the IRC link, and then of course the stream link itself.
Okay.
And that should be about all we need.
Yeah, when did my stream get added to Climb Line? That's cool.
Hey, they removed the other mumble on !Mumble.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was dead.
Ah.
Living Dead doesn't have access to that server anymore.
Whoa, 24 viewers. I think we should get this started or something.
The perks of being featured.
Featured on what?
Justin.
What? Oh.
What?
Yeah, I'm a featured streamer, so we should have a decent
Really?
viewing the whole time.
Oh.
Cool.
No
Well,
pressure.
I'm
Hey,
gonna
you have any
make
luck
I'm gonna
with
make
my
this,
stream yet?
I'm gonna make this quick post, and then Chicken Steve and Uber. I guess we can get started. I'd like to know if anybody is just watching in chat, but they can Atosh. They can hear Mumble through your stream, right?
They
Can I
can.
get the link to the
But they can
schedule
hear
of
you
events
speak out.
so I can write things down in the drawing school?
So, you still haven't gotten the stuff with my stream yet, right?
I'm still
That's
working
weird.
on it.
It's working for me.
Ah, got it.
Oh yay.
For main sub posts is hard.
I hate making Reddit posts.
Hey Bob, dude, you're a little quiet, just so you know.
Fear. Does it help if I just talk loud?
Yes, it does.
Yeah, it helps. Oh no, no,
really
no,
wanna
no,
talk
no,
loud.
frick. My computer overheated.
Oh!
His computer overheated?
Chickens, I think. Yep,
Oh.
he just dropped off the stream.
It's just your live stream, right? Atosh?
Yep, my Justin.tv for high quality, live stream for low.
I didn't know there was Justin for high quality.
Well, it's just a lot higher quality than live stream. Live stream
Oh wow,
limits,
yeah it is.
live stream limits you to 500 kbit total, video and audio, and Justin, I think you can go up to about 2,000 without having to pay anything, which will actually do a decent stream.
Alright, I just put up the link to the drawing school post.
Upvotes ahoy!
Upvotes.
Atosh, if you could put that in your stream thing so
Yep.
people know what's going on.
On the text.
Wait, view, I'm in EST and it's 11 o'clock right now.
It's not 7
yet.
yet.
Time anywhere.
Womp womp.
Yeah, 7 a.m. is somewhere out in the Pacific Ocean. Like Alaska.
Gosh dang it. Now wait
Poor
for
chicken.
XSplit to load again.
You might just want to link the schedule since that automatically converts times. I think.
Link.
It does.
Alright. It's 5 seconds till stream.
Hopefully it just loads this time. Don't have to wrestle with it.
Anyone excited for E3? Anyone here actually play games?
I played TF2 and that's basically it.
That should be updated now.
I like that art,
My
though.
stream is up.
I'm on my third cup of coffee right now, so just an FYI, I'm gonna get kinda hyper.
I really need to get my filter cleaned. Hopefully my computer doesn't burn out again anytime soon.
Hello, Jinyanda.
Hello, Jin.
Jinny Jin Jin.
Do we have a Reddit post on the main sub yet to upvote?
Apparently
I'm
not.
working
Yeah.
on that right now and basically done with it. Freaking mods not giving us a shout out as bastard.
Try messaging them again.
Hey, Tech 314.
Hello.
And then
So, I have no idea what I should draw.
I'm guessing it's going to be a pony.
okay, I just finished the post. Now
I keep forgetting I'm actually streaming. I shouldn't have administrative chat for BerryTube open on my stream, probably.
okay, well, Uber Dragon, are you ready to go?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Alright, well then I guess we could, like, Vera, you've got your stream up, right?
Excuse me, what?
Yes.
Are we ready to start teaching stuff?
I need to get learned.
Because I'd like to get started.
Yeah, I'm here to learn.
I'm good to go.
Ask a question.
Yeah, alright, what do you guys want to start with?
Okay, so something I have struggled with lately is mostly colors. So I've been through the guide of Purple Kecleon, and I think I've got basic understanding of what he's talking about, but it's difficult for me to apply that to my own things.
In general, I don't recommend that people just read the Kecleon guide. I recommend that they go through each time she gives an example, to do one of your own as that example. So on my stream, I'm just going to do an analogous palette. So first I'll have to get a sketch down because you need something down first, and then we'll go into analogous. Does that sound? Color is one of those big things that you have to practice a whole bunch.
Yeah, color in particular is something that takes a lot of, like, trial and error. Like, you really want to just fiddle with a whole bunch of stuff, see what works and what doesn't, as well as know why it works or why it doesn't. It's important to have both of those.
How do I background?
You what?
I can't seem to draw backgrounds.
Oh, brown is just dark orange.
Background.
Yeah.
Oh.
References.
Yes, references and practice.
Too many references, too much
Also,
practice. Other
you're
artists
still
are
doing
very
colors?
helpful for learning the shorthand of what ground is.
Yeah,
what
you're still
grass
doing
is and
colors,
stuff like
right?
that.
'Cause, like,
Hey, Chump.
Hey,
I
Jumpy.
could go ahead and throw my stream up too if we need to.
Yeah, I've got the chat up in one of the quadrants, so if we want to throw another stream up, we can do it.
I should really make my mumble bind something other than shift.
Yeah, I use right control. I always feel like people saying that references is such a cop-out for, like, when people ask how to do things, and people are like, just references. References is how you do it. It's always such a cop-out. But ever since I started using references to do vector work, like, I feel like the quality of my vector work has increased substantially. And I basically draw everything at this point from something else. I mean, I already did that because I'm a vector artist, but, like, I never don't have a reference. I have a huge folder on my computer that is full of references. Everything from just general show accurate ponies to, like, actual horse anatomy. Like, I have skeletal drawings.
Okay, I'm going to be starting my analogous palette color thing now. So we'll start with a nice red. Red is a nice, cool, warm color. But you can make it. I'm going to have to turn off push to talk, so give it a sec. Okay, can you hear me now?
Yep.
You're good.
Alright, so you can make red one of those cooler warms by throwing a little bit of purple in it. and we're going to put it in the background with this blue skull in the background. But it's an analogous palette, so it's going to be around that kind of red, orange, red, purple thing, and probably some orange and yellows for highlights. That's how analogous goes. But this is a blue character, so how do we get away with analogous with a blue character? Well, let's just put in the blue first. We'll desaturate it a whole bunch. And it'll be on its own land because it's separating the figure from the ground, and I'm also going to do some alterations to the blue so that it fits with the analogous. Now I picked this character because of the rainbow, and it's going to be very difficult to show how do I make this analogous with all those different colors. It's just going to seem impossible. And it may be impossible. That's the fun thing about doing this kind of thing. Is I'm going to learn a lot about color by trying to do this with all of them. So let's slowly place in each of the colors. That's a little high on the saturation scale. I don't want to start too high, so I need somewhere to go. I'm going to start a little darker, and then it's going to end up in a little less saturated, so the shadows will seem less saturated and all that stuff. It's red. Orange, yellow, green, and the wonderful things about it's hard to describe. Learning some of the basics, like what order the colors of the rainbow are in. This is pretty useful. It's like, oh, I never have to guess that again. I know RGB can get together. So we have regular colors put in, but we want to make this analogous, so we want to give everything a bit of a red or warm tint to it. So I'm going to use an overlay layer, and what an overlay layer does is it overlays one color on top of what you already have. So let's do the red now. And she fits a bit better into the background, but she also blends very much. But I still haven't put in my darker darks or my lighter lights. Even my midtones, right? So it's okay. You can get away with what it is, right? I don't like the fact that it's just red in the background. So let's play towards the red orange. Get a little bit lighter. Giant brush. Something with a bit of texture to it. There we go. Now, it must be on the same layer as that. A bit of blending. Right now I'm just giving a texture to it. A bit of light. I have to decide what my light area is and what my dark area is. I think I want my dark area to be like background. So I'm going to darken it up a bit more. Well, actually, I'm not going to have a solid dark area. It's nothing's going to fall too close to dark. I'm going to be focusing on color here. So I want to be able to play with the saturation. As I get darker, the saturation will go in. Orange always needs that little extra oomph of saturation to hold out among digital. I don't know why that is, but I'm going to give it the benefit of the doubt. I think it's a bit of yellow that's in it that just says, no, I can't do it, I'm not strong enough. Just a bunch of marks. Right now I'm not worrying too much about what they're saying, I'm just trying to get an overall impression. Okay, got a nice, wonderful red background, a bit of an analogous pony, not quite enough. So I'm just going to duplicate this other area. I'm very red now. So let's throw some of the orange in, lighten her up a bit. Do a regular brush, so it's not the same as my background. Side on my light source. And technically my light source is coming from the other direction according to my background, but I'm just going to change that. So you see, the overlay layer really helped to unite the colors. They still look like they're different colors, but it's much more subtle. So you take the purple, and it's really a red, more of a red. You take the blue, and it's also a similar red. Green is an orangish red. Red stays red, orange stays, well, more red. But it feels different enough, and that's the point. And so you can keep those feelings without changing away from our analogiousness.
You can definitely see that.
A bit very light highlights. And I'm going to do some overall overlay so that I can really push the color.
Especially for like beginners in digital art, overlay layers are just like, oh god, I love overlay layers. Like if your colors aren't, you know, spot on, like when you were first drawing it, you know, which they will be, especially when you're a beginner, then overlay layers are a great way to fix what you've messed up.
They're really enjoyable.
Yeah, I'll try to keep that in mind.
Alright, I have to change the direction of my light source in my background. That was hard. Okay, so you see what that's an analogous play. And now I know a little bit more about red and analogous and the purples and stuff. And I really drew from my background on color theory for this. So I kept it within red. I moved a little bit towards yellow, a little bit towards purple, very little bit towards purple. I kept it very warm. But I did put in those blues and stuff. And I put that overlay layer on, and I had to duplicate it to make it strong enough. And you get some wonderful effects. Okay. So that's part of color. If you want more color instruction, we can go over later. If somebody else has a question, we can do that first. If nobody else has a question, we can do more color stuff.
Because there's a lot of color stuff you could talk about.
Oh, there's quite a lot. I could go into complementary colors, I can go into colors of shading.
Colors and context, yay.
Colors and context is a wonderful lesson. You can make one kind of orange look blue when set against another kind of orange, and that's just freaky because they're complementary colors.
Their entire college class is on nothing but colors. Like when I was doing some drawing classes at college, there's a class on just shading, a class on just like primary colors. I mean, it's kind of ridiculous how much you can go into doing color.
You can really spend your life on one palette. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, when it really comes down to it, like what's good is really subjective too. Like, I mean, besides getting the basics down, like actually being able to put color onto a canvas and make it look, you know, correct. Once you get that down, just like all art is technically good, air quotes, is really subjective. So, I mean,
that's art for you.
Yep.
Well, there are colors that clash, but it's okay to put them as long as your intention was to make things clash. But if they look like they clash and they're out of place and it doesn't fit the narrative you're putting forth, then it all falls apart.
There's definitely a bad way to do things, in a sense, but there's no way for it to not be like... If you know what you're doing with it, then you probably have it. You're probably doing things the way you want to, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
But with Ardenal, it's all your own device. So like, if you want colors to clash and that's your intention, that's perfectly fine, I guess. It might, I mean, it's gonna clash, clearly, but if you can harness that, then that's art.
Well, it has to fit your narrative. It has to clash for purposes of the work, or the intention, or the artist statement, or whatever. As long as it makes sense in some fashion that you can articulate. And being able to articulate what you mean in art is one of the more difficult steps.
Hey, Atosh, do you wanna get rid of the chat quadrant and all stream?
Yeah, sure.
Alright. Oh lordy, my laptop is hot. Let me get all my stuff together.
Alright, any other questions? Wait, so, does somebody have something on the men or wings? There was something. I know there was something.
Okay, I do have a question.
Shoot.
Okay, basically I am terrible at getting like the proportions and particularly the hind legs right, and can never seem to do eyes without them looking a little off. Any suggestions for that?
Eyes are built in a context, and that's one of the more difficult things to grasp as we art. Alright, so let's draw a basic circle. That's a circle. Sure, it's more of a triangle, but we'll say that's a circle. Grab a ear on it, have some hair.
Is it just like the proportions that you're having issues with, or is it just like actually getting them to fit correctly on the character?
Well, they just, like, the limbs never seem to turn out right. Either they're too small or too large. They just don't look right.
Alright, a lot of this is based on consistency. You have to be consistent, even if you're being stylistic with something. You have to choose what your proportions are and how your eye is going to look. And often people decide to go off the show's anatomy, and that's fine. I tend to make my legs a little longer. But you have to be consistent. I tend to make mine about equal to that. And show they're actually a little longer than the body, but the body is a bit shorter itself too. So, consistency of your proportions. It might help to make a character sheet, basically, of what you'd like to do. Spend a few hours, get a lot of references, and make something that's like, okay, this is the proportion I want to do. And then in the future, you can use that as a reference. Be like, okay, is the leg the exact length in comparison to everything else as I put it on the character sheet? It'd be really helpful. And for eyes themselves and show, they're freaking ginormous things that take up most of the face. I tend to shrink them a bit.
Yeah, show-wise, they take up almost half the face, depending on what view you're looking at. That was my biggest problem when I was first drawing them without using references, that like you don't want to make them so big because it seems kind of ridiculous, and then you don't make them big and then it looks really weird that they're not so big.
Yeah, if you change one part of the anatomy, like the size of the eye, you're going to have to change something else, like the muzzle's going to have to come down, or the hairline may have to come down. Things have to look right. They have to look like they fit still. And what the show does is it takes out eyebrows unless they're needed. So since I shrink the eyes down, I can keep the eyebrows in. But I have to make them more subtle because you can't have a thick eyebrow on a female character. And make them still be female. You can do it, you have a masculine character. You can technically get away with anything, you just have to put it in the right context. But you can't get away with too anythings.
Tosh, I should be streaming.
Okay, I'll throw it on there as soon as it loads for me.
Sometimes the faces of whole shrinks. When you're doing more complicated things like faces, hands, feet, you tend to shrink them. That's just the tendency of artists. Is you tend to work it and work it and work it, and as you're working it, you're working inside your previous marks, and so it just kind of shrinks. The great thing about digital art is you can transform. The great thing about traditional art is you can just kind of outline it on a larger scale, and usually it'll work out. Well, usually it'll work out a little better because you're redrawing it.
He's driving a car outside.
Did that answer your question on eyes? Does that make sense? Give you direction.
I think so. I think it's one of those things that really need to just play around with the eyes. Because, like, I just posted it to the subreddit, but I think I redid those eyes at least a dozen times, and I still don't think they look right.
Okay,
Can I see the yeah, throw a link up so I can see it. Damn it, Atosh, I don't mean to be quiet, I mean... it's this blasted internal mic.
I love that picture, by the way, Bob.
Which one?
The one you're working on right now.
Yeah, it's still got a long way to go on it. I wonder if band user is either Junior Ronda or Amen. Oh, nope, that might be Flobish.
Yeah, I think we know who it is now.
Who's gonna post that link up in IRC for their eyes?
That's Tech.
Tech, you should totally throw a link up in IRC. There we go.
Yeah, I just had to find the link. Those were just the two latest I've done.
So what are you looking for? Are you looking to do more show accurate eyes, or are you looking to do your own kind of thing?
See, I'm not entirely sure on that. I guess the rainbow I was kind of going for more show accurate eyes. The request one, I was going off of a sketch and kind of trying to match what they did.
Honestly, like, those eyes aren't bad. Like, for eye, like, if you... So all of my experience is show accurate because I do a lot of vector work, so I try to get it as show accurate as possible. And for show accurate eyes, those eyes aren't terrible. I think the reason that they're not looking right, I think, is the anatomy that goes around the eyes is a little off.
Yeah, eyes exist in a context. And if the context is off, the eye will look off before anything else, which is weird. Mm-hmm. But it's how we perceive faces. So
facial proportions are something that everything has to be right or everything is wrong.
So what I'm thinking with this character here is that it's probably the muzzle. And so if we can extend this out, it seems a little high to me. Let's bring it down. the mouth again, and the muzzle seems a little small for the size of the eyes. When you shrink the eyes from show size, which show size is ginormous, usually the muzzle gets a little larger to compensate. Not a lot larger, just a touch. And so, doing just this little red line. See, the eyes seem to fit about that. Let's just trace these eyes so that you can see in the sketch version. I'm not good at tracing, I'll say that, so everything's going to look a little wonky. Let's the rest of the face.
Ah, my new clipboard has a sticker on it that won't come off. That's dumb.
Oops, got this thing.
Arg.
Okay, so we can see things look a bit better without with the muzzle a little lower and a lot larger. Let's darken those pupils. Dark pupils. I often look at things with art eyes, so it's very difficult for me to say, oh wait, I have to make this look good for other people. Yeah. So you can see, I think it looks quite a bit better, honestly, so let's compare the two. It's just the muzzle that's changed here.
Okay, could you walk me through that one more time? The live stream kept kind of bombing out on me the whole time, so I switched over to the live stream rather than the Justin TV.
Okay, basically, we're lowering the start of the muzzle to right about where the bottom of the eyes are, and making it larger. So it just, from the face, we have the eye. Let's look at a side profile. And the circle is the face, muzzle comes out. The eye, the muzzle comes just about straight out. It's not quite 100% straight. It's just a touch tilting down, but it's a very small touch. So for the purposes of a 3/4 view, just a very small touch down, and then scoops around from the bottom of the eyes, from close to the bottom of the eyes. You can go a little bit above. You can go a little bit below. It all depends on how you want to interpret the position of the muzzle. Either looks okay. You want to be consistent between your characters. And just a bit larger muzzle there really helped things out. The muzzle, I'm on the wrong layer. I hate it when I do that. Just look at the character. The muzzle here is tilted down a bit too much.
Oh god, Bob Ross invert looks so creepy.
Yes, it really does. So you
Bob
want to
Ross never looks creepy.
You want to make sure that the muzzle and the eyes are looking the same direction. So because we have that relationship of the fact that the muzzle is just about sticking out straight out from the face, you will know from any angle that the pony is looking at what angle the muzzle is, how it's looking out. You just have to keep that relativity with the eyes. Eyes exist in that context, and they have to basically work in that context. Does this answer your question a bit better? Because the eyes here look okay. I would say with your far eye, depending on how you're drawing, what exactly the 3/4 view is, you may have to cut off a lot of the far eye. It may just be a small little sliver in comparison to the close eye. It may also help to draw the far eye first, because it's a lot easier to adjust the big one than to adjust the small one. Because the small one's this itty bitty sliver thing. And it's like, well, how does that? I want to fix that to match the other one. No, you want to fix the other one to match it. Keep it simple. Adjust to your less complex forms. Does that make any sense? Did I answer your question?
Yeah, I think it does. I normally do start with drawing the big eye first, so I'll have to try drawing the smaller eye first. Because I've been trying to do the 3/4 view more than just the profile to try and figure out how it all works.
So I'm pulling up what I like to consider a show accurate vector. It's not necessarily perfect because it's just one of my older ones. But the way I do my vectors is I break it up into shapes. So like you definitely don't see. I basically break it up and like you cut it out in like a piece of cardboard and then overlay it. That's how my vectors are built. It lets me reuse pieces. But the nice part about it is that I literally just get to pull it apart and I can see how all of the pieces are put together, which A, makes it a little creepy when you pull them apart because they look really weird. But it helps when I started actually drawing them on a piece of paper. It helps you because it lets you visualize the shapes that go underneath, like what would be the undersketch. And the weird thing is about pony heads, like no matter, but pretty much no matter what direction you're looking at them at, the actual head part itself is perfectly spherical. And then you attach a muzzle to it, and that's what's going to go ahead and adjust the way the head looks.
That's with 100% show accuracy, not...
Yeah, 100% show accuracy, because that's what I do. I do 100% show accurate. It looks weird until you start doing it. And obviously, if you're doing your own thing, it's just... Show accuracy is the place to start, and then you adjust from there. That's my opinion, at least. I don't know what I'm trying to go with this, but like, if you see my stream up there, like it's the eyes take a huge portion of the head. It's probably about half, maybe a third. And like we were saying before, it's your eye. Like I'm looking at the request. I think it is. Yeah, the request. The eyes look fine. Like I think the eyes are great. I think it's just an overlying or underlying anatomy issue. I think if that head was a bit more circular, and the muzzle, like Raptor was saying, if the muzzle was changed a bit, like I think the eyes are not the problem. But also I think you also draw better than I do, so I always feel weird when I'm critiquing and offering opinions. So the heads are weird. Like they're probably the hardest part to draw on a pony, because if you mess up, it looks weird. And it's one of those things that it's really sometimes hard to figure out why it looks weird.
Okay, so you think that problem might actually be the muzzle placement, not really the eyes?
A lot of facial proportion stuff can be fixed with, like, before you ever even make errors, just with proper volumes.
Yeah, I agree with that. Volumes will help a ton.
Volumes will help a ton. Then you just like, if you know where the shape is and like what the shape is doing, then you can kind of figure out where each thing is going to be placed, just because, well, you know where it's going to be placed. What matters is where it's, like, in retrospect to the viewer, or what's going on, like, in the scene, where it's going to be placed on that sphere or on the muzzle or whatever you want to call it. But volumes in particular are going to help a lot with facial proportion stuff.
That's why we tell people to draw a sphere, not a circle, and the difference between the two can be subtle, but it's in how you understand it.
The problem with drawing ponies from like all of my stuff from show accurate ponies is that they're very, very flat. They do a good job at conveying three-dimensional space with these flat objects, but the fact that there was hardly any shading in any of the episodes, it's very hard to get a sense of depth when you start drawing these things. So the problem is that you just want to go ahead and start drawing these ponies, but you have to make them 3D. Like you have to just approach it from that. They're three-dimensional beings. So doing your undersketches with three-dimensional geometry involved 100% important to getting your proportions and lines correct. Or else you get these flat-looking things that just don't look right, and then you're just like, this kind of looks right, I don't know why it looks wrong. And like they were saying, if you draw a sphere as opposed to a circle, that's huge, because then you know where things are supposed to be in proportion to whatnot.
And then I would like to link Pajaga, since I think they have really good volumes. Where should I link that?
IRC.
I know exactly who you're talking about. I actually really like Pajaga. And I actually look him for volume references literally all the time.
Why don't you link a piece?
Like in every volume crit I've ever made, I link to Pajaga.
What view?
Why don't you link a piece of Pajaga's in the IRC and I can dissect it and say why it has good volumes. Not just that, it does. And so we can do a bit more analysis.
Tech, that piece I just linked in IRC, the Dropbox link, that's what I use whenever I feel like one of my proportions is not proportions, but like the view is not looking correct. Because that image is not perfect, but it's pretty good at what the head should look like in each one of those views.
I wouldn't say that would be the best piece for volumes, honestly.
I don't know, just choose one. I have no idea.
I will choose based upon my Rarity's hair. That is volumes incarnate. If you want to learn volumes, just draw this hair over and over and over and over.
The very first vector I drew was like, I'm going to learn how to do vector art, and I chose Rarity. Whoops.
Way to make things complicated before you even begin.
Right?
Okay. So, one of the wonderful things about traditional art is you have shading, and Pajaga does very wonderful volume-like shading. So I'm going to do a bit of a sketch. It's not going to be accurate to any artists, but I'm going to try to be accurate with my shading. I'm just going to get the sketch out of the way so I can jump right into the shading. And as I'm drawing this line, my head is tilting back and forth. Like literally, if you saw me right now, you'd think I was watching a tennis match. It's just back and forth between the reference and what I'm drawing. You gotta compare all the time. Just compare. And you gotta keep drawing. You can't stop drawing. So I'm drawing when I'm not actually looking at the paper. And that's scary, but that's how it goes. And you correct yourself as you go. And, well, art is general to specific, so slowly more specific. Let's see. I'm really not a fan of, okay, you have the eye, you have the side of the face, and you have this giant cheek bulge that comes out. It's just creepy to me. But whatever. I will do it because the reference has it. Because it's imitating infants. And they're adults, so yeah, whatever. Okay. Other artists that have good volumes. Cosmic Unicorn has very subtle volumes, but they're very well played. Let's see, KP Shadow Squirrel has very hard-edged, but again, they're well rendered. Cruci hard-edged again, well-rendered again. There are a different way of rendering hard edges too, so it's an interesting dynamic on that. Now, I don't want to be the only one taking over the chat, especially if other people want to speak. So if other people want to instruct, speak, do whatever, I can be off doing my own thing.
Oh, it's fine. I'm just chiming in whenever. I'm actually just kind of arting at the same time.
Good.
I can't draw, so.
Yes, you
I
can.
don't know. I guess it just depends on who wants what taught. You know, like if Jarek, you mentioned that you wanted to do like a lesson over something, like a legit just straight up lesson. What was that you wanted to do?
If people are interested in learning how to do vector art, I can also do a pretty quick crash course in how to use Inkscape, and
we can do something like that.
Do vector work. It's surprisingly easy. But if people aren't interested in that, I'm not going to be like, well, vectors are the way of the future. Because they're not.
I like vectors. So, yeah.
Okay. I'm almost done with sketch. Just gotta finish part of it. We can get to quick inks, and then we can get to shading. One of the more difficult things about art is that shading is one of those after all these steps. So if you don't get the sketch right, your shading is going to look off regardless, and it's going to seem like shading itself is impossible. And that's one of the very arg things about art, especially with color. Like, well, why doesn't this look right? And then you realize you messed up your eye proportion, and that's why nothing looks right. So figuring these things out and trying to be articulate with your art, with dissecting your own art, is one of those important steps that helps build your art eyes.
So, Jared.
Yo.
How do I do lines in Inkscape with, like, tapering and stuff?
You don't. Is the short answer. I mean, so there's multiple tools in Inkscape, and the main one that you're going to be using would be the path tool. In path tool, what you're talking about is considered in vector art is considered a power stroke. You can't do that using the path tool. So what you'd have to do is you'd have to do it using the shape tool. Let me go ahead and pull up an image.
I'm actually remembering a bit from my vector past.
Yeah, so that is probably my biggest complaint about vectors, is that they don't let you do tapered lines, because in art that's huge. So you trick it, is basically how you do it. So each one of these my stream's going to take a second here to pop up. So I've got that rarity dress image by Ginyaranda I did. Each one of these strokes is not actually a line, it's what's considered a shape. So what you do is what I was doing with the Griffin image is I'm just outlining it by putting lines around it, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to convert all of those lines into shapes, and then you would adjust the shapes to be how you want the strokes to be.
Okay.
It takes a bit of work. So once it comes up here, you'll see. I've highlighted all of the strokes on the image to show you what it looks like. And basically, instead of it being a single line, it's made up of a bunch of lines.
And so it gets a lot more complicated, even though you're trying to do something that people see as simple.
Vectors are time consuming.
I would say one of the advantages to doing art with a digital program that's not in Inkscape would be that you can taper your lines with a tablet and all that fun stuff.
Totally.
And the little...
Oh, I think I'm starting to get it now.
And the little things that seem off when you may be trying to get something 100% accurate, like with a vector, you can actually incorporate into your piece, and it'll seem like energy, it'll seem like life, instead of feeling like, oh, well, that hair is out of place.
Yep, it's very, vector art is
falling off.
Vector art is very sterile. Usually very sterile. I've seen some vector art that's just really amazing.
Who's it, Harwicks, or who's the guy who started out doing vectors and then moved on to more woodblock pony things? Names escape me. Okay. And for that one thing, that way.
I mean, vector art is very time consuming. Specifically because you're just dragging a whole bunch of lines around to get it going. But I also kind of feel like sometimes the people that say vector art is very time consuming are people that haven't done it a whole lot. Because like this Jin Uranda image that I did here, from start to finish, like everything, maybe 2.5, 3 hours.
So
I do.
That's sort of fast, I guess.
I vector pretty quickly.
Okay, so not to interrupt, but I'm finally done with this thing. We can get to shading now. Yay. So the volumes in Pajaga's piece are based on two things. One is the form, and the other is the shading. The shading emphasizes the form, basically. So without the proper form, the shading wouldn't work. You see how kind of rounded everything is. Everything has this kind of rounded feel to it. The ear is rounded, the hair is rounded, the legs are rounded. They have this kind of bubbly round feel to it. And that's one of the ways to portray volumes. It's fairly common in artists to just kind of round things and approach things as a series of spheres. And one of the things that Pachaga doesn't do for volumes that I really try to emphasize for them is overlap. So you get maybe the knee comes in here, maybe we have a bit of elbow here, and this part here could be emphasized. And that's one of the things the Rarities hair does indicatively, is you have this outside part and this inside part. So getting those to portray with shadows is what Pachaga does. So let's kind of do that. We have this dark here, this wonderful dark that's way in the back of the hair. It slowly gets lighter. Now, how you make things slowly get lighter is up to you, with the way you shade, with the way you work. All of a sudden we have a bit of volume there. And a lot of the light sources in Pajaga's work are from the front. We get a very strong frontal light source, so we don't have a lot of shading. We have a lot of cast shadows. And cast shadows are good for volume work because they tell us what is on top and what is underneath. And that's the essence of volumes, is saying, okay, this is on top of this is underneath that. It's distinctive between our shapes. We're not confused as a viewer. We know where the things are. Everything's very clear. Art is very explicit. We like to think, oh, it's so subtle. This isn't subtle, this is overt. As the artist, it's overt. As a viewer, it doesn't seem so. But that's the difference between the artist and the viewer. Is the artist has to smack the viewer over the head with a hammer to get them to say, oh, that's so subtle. No, you have to be kind of strong. Like all these dark patches, these lines, they seem like they're these little subtle things, but they're very clear. All the cast shadows are very strongly emphasized in the work. And it's shading in the background of the legs here. It's not all the way in. So keep looking at my reference. I'm just going to put dark black here. And it gets a little lighter, and I have an understanding of hatching to the point where I can hatch this, and it takes time to understand hatching. It's kind of really nice, subtle coming in there, which gives us a sense of roundness. It's emphasizing what's already there, the roundness of the form. A little bit of roundness here, a little bit of roundness here, a little bit of inside here. Oh, this wonderful kind of shadow here. You know, one of the things in art that's difficult to do is we have a black and white character that we have to say this character has a much darker hair than the body color. So we can just place this overall tone over all of the hair, and then still work with our shadows and lights after that. Now, with traditional, sometimes the lights take a little bit of erasing. Sometimes the tone isn't so dark and you work it in to be a little darker in other areas. Get this overall light things. Okay, so that's my kind of mimicry of the Bhajaga way of doing volumes. I hope this makes sense. We have these strong kind of dark lines, like here, 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 here. Where you put the light against the dark, you put the thing that's the foreground object against the background object. If you really emphasize, this is on top of that, with that dark against that light, it makes things pop. But you have to set up your composition that way. Your sketch has to have one object on top of another, and the light source has to be in such a way so that the cast shadow underneath is right there. And setting that up seems really, really complicated, but it happens a lot just by chance, just by, if you make it look interesting in the sketch, it'll be interesting with the shadows. And as you learn your composition, your movement, and all that stuff, it'll come to you. Art isn't separate. We can't separate all these things out and say, okay, this is how you distinctly do volumes, this is how you distinctly do shadows. No, they're kind of together. Okay. And that's my analysis of the genre. Yeah.
Well done. Well done indeed.
Do we have other questions?
There would be one thing that I'm always really interested in, and that is good use of foreshortening, because that makes things like really difficult for me.
Well, I could talk about perspective, but foreshortening isn't something that I'm very good at.
Shall I go, or should somebody else want to take over?
I'm very bad with perspective.
Okay.
Okay, well, I can do a little bit. Okay. My stream's up, right?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. Here's a little bit about perspective. Now, perspective, of course, is like it's setting yourself into the scene. You want things to be corresponding to where the viewer is. And in real life, where our eyes are, like, positioned in, like, a room or anything like that, it's basically just an observation on how we see things and translating that to art. So, if you have something way off in the distance, like a horizon line, hold on, I gotta get the... So if you just have like a horizon line way out in the back, right? Now, as we perceive things, which is perspective, things recede to the horizon. So you always have a point. There's always a point on the horizon line where things will recede to. So the way we utilize this is by, it's actually really simple. We have these things called orthogonals, which are essentially lines receding from this horizon point. I know there's a little bit of lag on my stream in comparison to my actual drawing, or into what I'm saying, but
the problem is
little...
that we're going through your stream, and then we're going through iJosh's stream, so it's actually amplified way worse.
Yeah, it's pretty far in it. Oh well, hold on, let me check this. Okay, yeah, now my lines are popping up, okay. Okay, so those are called orthogonals. Those are the lines that are coming out of that point on the very center of the horizon line. And with those, they're essentially like, they're like an undersketch for perspective. With them, we're going to like set up exactly how things will recede to the horizon. Now, there's a thing called 1-point perspective, 2-point perspective, and 3-point perspective. This is 1-point perspective because I only have 1 point with the orthogonals. 2-point perspective would be something with 2 points, like, you know, another point with a whole other set of orthogonals. Now, so this is 1 point, you get a kind of like receding like down the hall kind of effect. But I'll just go ahead and do some I'll just go ahead and draw some boxes in here.
I personally prefer 2-point because I feel it makes more realistic. I mean, all of them are realistic, so don't get me wrong, but I prefer 2-point. A, because it's easier for me to visualize 3D objects in a 2-point perspective space. Basically, what each of the perspective types does is just change the style of your drawing. If you've ever done any photography or I guess filmmaking, it's basically controlling the curvature of your lens. That's the effect you're getting.
Okay, so I know it's going to take a little bit for my stream to catch up to me, but I've got a whole bunch of boxes just kind of here. Now, these are just regular old rectangles. They are not agreeing with the perspective at all. They don't have any volume. They're not 3D at all. They're just 2D. Now, to make them 3D as well as have them, you know, follow perspective, we're going to follow those orthogonals. Like, everything will recede to that point. Even if you don't have one of those orthogonals, like, in there, you can still make a line or recede to that point. So, let me go ahead and see what I can do here. So again, it's going to take a little bit for my stream to catch up, but if you watch it, you can see that I'm going to go ahead and like start having my lines recede to that point. Okay, so I've got these just 4 boxy things going on, and now they're all receding back to that perspective point. If we get rid of the orthogonals, we can see, like, you can see these boxes. You know, they're definitely there. They're definitely 3D, and they all agree with where the viewer might be. So, like with these boxes that are just kind of receding off to some horizon line, I should probably draw it back in. We have a little bit of a scene. You know, the viewer can put themselves here because the perspective is all like it agrees with what they would see had it been real, which is interesting stuff. But so, like, with these boxes, like, you can make this just about anything. Like, maybe they're like, I don't know, maybe it's like, maybe you're in a warehouse or something, and there are a bunch of crates. Maybe you're in a city and you're looking down a street. Like, I could draw that right now.
So just for an example, what Bob's is doing is 1-point perspective. I just linked an image in IRC that is a good example of 2-point perspective.
And 2-point things are just going to follow the second orthogonal as well. So, like, in this one, I have my vertical. Like, think of it on 3 axes here. You have X, Y, and Z. So each point is going to affect one of those axes. So for this 1 point, for the 1-point perspective that I just did an example of, it's affecting my Z-axis, the one that's going into the piece. Now, a third point, or a second point perspective might affect the X or the Y, meaning like what the vertical one is or what the horizontal one is, and 3-point will affect all of them. Now, I'll go ahead and do an example of that too. So going back to this, I have my 1 point right down there. Right, my stream's gonna catch up. Whatever. Okay, so I have the 1 point still in there. Now, in order to get a non-warped effect, you're gonna have a lot of your points completely just off canvas, so that things don't look like that. Like you zoom or whatever. But anyways, so,
you get a very fisheye lens effect if your 2-point perspectives are right next to each other.
You get a very warped view, so you kind of want to be careful with them. So I'll go ahead and put in another couple of sets of orthogonals. Okay, now again, it's going to take a while for my thingamajig to catch up, but now, since I was drawing squares in that last one, I'll draw squares in 3-point instead. And instead of just having a straight up vertical or a straight horizontal, I have to follow these orthogonals that I've set. I have to make every single axis agree with where I've set my perspective points.
I just linked a example of 5-point perspective in IRC.
5-point?
It's not completely apparent, but there's one. What?
I've never even heard of 5-point perspective.
Basically you're looking down, and there's perspective points on east, west, north, south, and down.
That's a really cool picture too.
You linked it in IRC?
Yeah, it's the big block front link.
Again, my stream is going to take a little while to catch up. But this is what 3-point perspective looks like. Every single axis gets affected by each perspective point. And again, I've got since I have the only one visible point of perspective is down all the way down here. You still get that down the hall kind of look, and you can change that stuff with just by moving the perspective points around. But you can see that no vertical line or horizontal line is perfectly vertical or horizontal. And it makes it a little bit more real in a way. It depends on how you position them and stuff. But nothing in like, it just depends on where the viewer is in relation to the scene. If you don't need another 2 perspective points, then you don't need those 2 perspective points. Depending on where the viewer is looking and where the camera is facing, that's what's going to change what your perspective is and what you need to do with it. Like for this one here, like I mean, you can see that it's 3-point, but does it really need to be? Not particularly. It does. It looks nice, granted, yeah, but it doesn't really. It's not a necessary feature. So if you want to do it that way, you can, but 1 point is all you're really going to need. Especially, and that's also something that plays into composition. It's like, different perspective points will make the piece feel different. If you have just the 1-point perspective that I had earlier, you get a more towering kind of effect, because things are very structured. The vertical lines and the horizontal lines are just 90-degree all day, every day. And you get a kind of sturdy, foreboding almost feeling. Whereas with this 3-point, things are a little bit more flexible. You know, there's a little bit more stretchiness to it almost. And that's something that's going to play into how your piece feels or anything like that. So that's another thing to think about when you're doing perspective. So yeah, it's something to play with for sure.
Well, I have an idea. I can't. What?
Every once in a while, I feel like I'm just like spewing just bowl.
Is the type for foreshortening?
Hey, Gren.
Small things overlap.
Oh god, somebody pinged me in IRC a long time ago and I never saw.
Huh.
Oh, I'm Jimmy.
That was me.
Not a scientist. Oh, and he cringed at me. That's too bad. I don't really care though, Jim.
I figured not.
Oh, hey, you got it to work?
Yup.
Nice. Also, how would you say orthogonal?
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 Yep.
Loser. You're all losers.
So one of the things that I've noticed... Oh, go ahead.
Yes. You're talking about the actual stream. I was just making an observation on like how there might be new people in the IRC right now.
I think there are.
I'm pretty sure there are. Crispy's never been... has Crispy ever even been in here? I don't think Crispy's ever been in here.
Don't think so.
I think I've seen it before.
I love Crispy. He's my best buddy.
Oh, okay,
I'm
so...
gonna hug him.
While we're on the topic of perspective, I am rendering a fractal cube right now that I have a pretty good perspective code in my fractal render, so it's going to show the curvature of having perspective.
So I'm looking at that 5-point perspective piece now, and I'm like, what? I want to do something like that. Anyways, Jin, what were you about to say?
Oh, yeah. So one of the things that I've noticed that beginner artists don't quite understand how to do is, like, overlap and foreshortening with perspective. And it's kind of like, the more extreme the angle you're viewing something at, the more overlap you see. So this is where, like, deconstructing things into basic shapes kind of comes into play. Because if you have, like, the basic shape for, like, the front of the arm and the basic shape for the back, the more you rotate it, the more the front of the arm is going to overlap, and then you just connect the two with whatever line is left over.
Mm-hmm. And don't be afraid to overlap either. Like, it's sometimes you'll draw something, it'll look kind of nice, and you don't want something to get in the way of it. You know, it's like, keep that there. It looks good, right? But if you need a limb to go over another limb, or like the tail is gonna brush up in front of like the flank or something, then do it, because it's going to look more natural if you actually do overlapping the way it should overlap.
Yeah, overlap.
Don't go out of your way. Don't go out of your way to keep things from overlapping. Overlap looks natural. It's very it's very natural. Things just overlap.
How about I do an example of overlap stuff so that, you know, voice doesn't really communicate what overlap means. A lot of people are image-based learners in art because it's art. So, when you're constructing something with overlap, foreshortening, and that, you still do the same basic skeleton, but there is, of course, a lot of overlap. So we have the rump circle here and the chest circle, and they're right next to each other. They're overlapping quite a bit. And good. That's overlap, that's foreshortening, that's how you do it. We have a head, a bit of a neck. Let's do the front legs first, so we get a bit of our gesture and what's going on with the characters emoting.
I just linked something in IRC about perspective.
Back legs, and the other back leg isn't going to be as visible, but we need to make sure that it's clear where it is. So we may spread the leg just a touch. Move this one just a touch. We want to make sure it's clear. So that's some overlap. The legs aren't really overlapping, so let's draw something with more with the leg overlapping. So let's do chest and head. The head's looking down a little bit. Yeah, over here. We've got some hair form, whatever. And let's draw our little lines for how the legs are. Let's say the legs are crossing one another. We have someone who's just crossing their legs. Crossing their arms in front of the face. And what helps a lot is to draw continuous circles. And you can't think of the leg as always being the straight thing or always having to see every bit of it. You shouldn't have to see, you may not see a whole bunch of forearm, you may see a lot more hoof than you do see forearm. So let's emphasize that hoof. There's a little bit of form. It seems I drew circles. Generally big. And then I have the other four kind of underneath here. Well, the other outside. And so, accepting the fact that they're going to overlap a lot, and kind of doing a lot of constructive form, I have some sense of how short these are. Especially lump back here, I don't have to draw the whole lump and make sure everything's clear, and I can just kind of circle out where it starts, the back of something, the front of something, and where it attaches. As long as you circle out where that is. And you can let those circles over then. And then it was a lot easier to draw. And I should make a better example from this. And here's a messy example. So we have a chest, we have a leg attachment, say we want the opponent kind of at us, and we want the arm to end right about here, arm/leg. And so we have an attachment point, we have it's moving its opponent towards us. We have an elbow right about here, right? Halfway? No. Arms may feel a little longer, so let's push our halfway point a little bit. So we get the halfway point there, and then we can put a circle. And attach it to a attachment point, things like that. Clean up. In digital or traditional, you can always clean something up. In traditional, it takes either pressing lightly or having a lighter pencil weight, like a nice 2H or something. Kind of raised off there. Okay, that's all I have to say on foreshortening.
Chicken Steve, you were the one asking about doing line strokes and stroke widths in Inkscape, correct?
What? Yeah.
So I'm gonna go ahead and do that for the beak here. I can show you how I do it.
Okay.
There are many ways of doing this, but this is how I do it. So I've made a path using the path tool, so it's all just one line with a couple nodes on it. I go up here and go to path and go stroke to path. That converts my path into a shape. It adds a whole bunch of nodes, and basically now it's just a actual two-dimensional shape. And then I'll go ahead and just I'll clean up some of these. I'll clean up some of these nodes because it adds more nodes than I feel is necessary. But then I'll just go ahead and drag the shape around to match what I want the stroke to look like.
Oh, I see now.
It's one of those things that if you're doing it with traditional art, it is way easier to do with just a pen and pencil. But there's something to be said about the crispness of vector art.
That's really interesting.
I find doing it that way is good for doing. This is the way I do it for doing line work over people's sketches. I do it differently for doing show accurate work. Let me pull up an image that I've done with show accurate work. I specifically do it differently.
Friggin' internet just died again.
Okay.
I disconnected for a while. So, what were you saying?
I said the way I was showing you there is how I do it for doing line work over people's sketches. So that's for non-show accurate work. Specifically because it lets you. I mean, stroke width is really important in art. So the way I do it for show accurate work is nice because it lets me reuse pieces. Because ponies and on show accurately are just a bunch of Lego bricks. You can just basically grab pieces off of them and socket them onto other ones, and it just works. So the way I do it for show accurate is I will do multiple shapes. I'll have a background shape that is the stroke, and then I'll have a foreground shape that is the fill. You'll see here in a second. I'm pulling apart a vector I did. It lets you reuse pieces. And it basically, once you get a bit of a vector library under your belt, like I can do a show accurate pony from scratch. Basically, if someone wanted me to do an OC in a show accurate pose, if I already had the show accurate pose done and they just needed me to do the hair, maybe add a horn or add some wings, it would take me maybe 5 to 10 minutes to do, because all I would need to generate is the hair. Basically, everything else is already done. Because they're just Legos. It's really just like just start grabbing pieces off of other ponies and just bolting them onto the side of these pictures, and it's just like it's one of those things I realized like after I had been doing them done maybe good 100 drawings. I was just like, wait, why am I doing this again? I already have one of these things. I've already done this exact same shape. It's literally the same thing. I'm just gonna grab it and just bolt it on here. I don't have to do it anymore. And I realized like they're all just the exact same shape. Like, all of the wings on every single Pegasus is exactly the same. It's just a different color. And it's kind of weird, actually, like, show accurate wise, like, how, like, I mean, you don't think Rainbow Dash's wings are the exact same as, like, Cloud Chaser's wings. Because they're different colors. So they're obviously different, but, I mean, every single Pegasus that's a background Pegasus that's not a unique character is exactly the same. The only difference is hairstyle and color. Every single unicorn is exactly the same except hairstyle and color. It's super weird. Like, the amount of unique ponies are very few. Also, Atosh, your stream just crashed.
Yeah.
Yep, I'm on it. No worries.
Nope, we have to panic.
Panic! Ah!
Streaming, it's picnic.
Just assume it's up.
I'm a huge fan of doing show accurate work. I mean, I know there's a point in doing non-show accurate work, but like I'm a huge fan of art, like the art style that they've done back before I started getting into computers. I really wanted to be an animator, so I'm a big fan of copying other people's styles and trying to make what I can do look as exactly the same as theirs as possible. So when I first started, A, it's crazy how much errors there are in every single episode, and B, it's kind of crazy how easy it is to just bolt things onto these other ponies. Like, unique artwork show-wise, there's very, very little of it. There's something to be said about not getting good at doing show-accurate vectors, because then you start looking at the episodes and being like, wow, they're just messing up everywhere. There's like animation errors basically pretty much every scene. Kind of awesome.
Well, it all depends on how you define an animation error.
Yeah, I mean,
if a group is clicked wrong,
error,
that's going to show up every 30 seconds. But if you have an expression, a unique expression, which the show does all the time, it's on there.
But I'm more specifying like layering issues. It's there's usually layering issues in most scenes. But that being said, when you're dealing with X number of puppets, as well as a background, as well as X number of props, there's going to be some sort of layering issue there, period.
There's definitely a lot that can just go wrong.
I mean, especially when you're making... I mean, it's 26 episodes. They have a little less than a year to do it from storyboard or from script to art, and it's a 27.9 frames or 29.7 frames per second. Like, I mean, there's a lot of art that goes into making a single episode. So, like, the fact that I can go ahead and be like, look, there's a frame error in this one scene is just like, it's super, like, pretentious of me.
Well, there's also an acceptable number of errors and an acceptable, standard of quality. They don't have to go for full budget, big budget movie CGI quality. No, they have to make it so that it's readable, it's understandable, and most people won't notice. So.
Right. Totally.
Yeah, I think we all agree that the overall quality is really good, but it's still fun to nitpick that kind of issues.
Oh, I think I enjoy pulling episodes apart frame by frame almost more than I do watching it at this point. Like,
I have caught myself too, going frame by frame, just looking if, let's say, I think in the season finale when the main six get their cutie marks ripped by T-Rex, I was like going frame by frame and saw that Pinkie Pie had like a cutie mark 2 frames longer than all other ponies.
It's my aunt used to work for Disney doing background art back when Disney actually did I shouldn't say quality animation, but back when Disney was doing actual hand-drawn cell animation. Yeah. Back when I actually
their
considered
hand-drawn studio, it's gone. We're not going to see another hand-drawn Disney film ever.
I know.
It's gone. It's just
kills me. Like I wanted to be an animator about, like, I was gonna say from 8 to 15. I guess that was roughly the age where I was doing a lot of drawing, doing a lot of animation. And then Flash became a thing, and hand-drawn animation stopped being a thing, and it was just like, it killed me. So my aunt did backgrounds for Disney, like actually painted backgrounds. And I got to go and do a lot of I went into the Disney animation studios, and I saw how a lot of people worked, and it was really cool. It's like, I want to do this. This is something I want to do. And then it kind of stopped being a thing. People stopped doing that
It
because it
stopped
was
being a thing
really
in the United
expensive.
States.
Yeah,
Japan still does.
Japan still does it.
All over
I
the
like
place.
Ghibli a lot.
Ghibli, yeah, I really love Ghibli.
But I agree, it was definitely cool to see that the backgrounds were like the old Disney cartoons where you could like clearly see the backgrounds are like the paintings and the foreground with the characters is like completely separate. That always looked cool in my opinion.
Yep. My life goal is to try to revive hand-drawn stuff, but also combine it with Flash so it's easier, you know?
I mean, I think there's a good middle ground there. I don't think doing all computer generated is the way to go, but doing hand drawn animation is not cost effective.
It's not
way
cost
too
effective
expensive.
anymore, but we could make it... The thing is, now that we have Flash, now that we have computers, we can put forth a lot less effort and still have things have that hand-drawn quality, that hand-drawn feel. We don't need to tween between every single frame hand-drawn now. We don't need to do that. So I'm thinking that we could raise the quality, raise the bar of animation as a whole and do kind of moving painterly things. It's perfectly feasible. It would take a lot of time and a lot of effort, but that's what Flash is there to help. And that's what hand-drawn animators are there to draw. I mean, we could do it. It could be wonderful. A painterly animated film.
I would love to see that.
I mean, Flash can't do everything. If you have tried, for example, the shape tweens, it's really hard to use the shape tweens so they don't go completely crazy between frames. Really easy to mess that up.
Which is why we also have 3D programs that we can apply textures to and layers, and so we can get this painterly thing that moves and feels real, but it's a texture on a 3D model, or several textures on a 3D model, and releasing throughout. Who knows? It's doable, damn it. So I get frustrated and biased when it comes to hand-drawn stuff. I miss it.
I miss it. My aunt worked on Goof Troop and Tailspin.
Awesome.
See, those were television shows that were hand-drawn. If you can afford to do a television show with hand-drawn frames, you can afford to do a freaking movie. Come on.
Right?
Hello.
Hello. Did anyone have any other questions? I realized that I kind of went off on a tangent there, and I apologize.
I think I'm good.
Oh man, I'm just so tired right now. I think I'm gonna go to sleep a bit early.
Okay.
Good night.
See ya.
The animation quality in My Little Pony, I think, is what pretty much attracted me to it. It has that. I mean, it's obviously not hand drawn, ish, but it has that feel to it. Like it feels like something that could be hand drawn.
No, I feel like the fact that they don't have to do hands saves them a lot of production time.
they also, I mean, there is a lot of actual hand-drawn art in MLP. Like MLP does a lot of digital. I don't know what I'm trying to say here. It is all Flash. It's all vector work, but it's very personalized. Like when you start seeing the actual custom stuff that goes into every episode. A good example would be the first couple episodes of the show. There's a lot of, because they didn't get their puppet library full yet, so there's a lot of just, we need to have Twilight skating around in an ice rink on all fours. We don't have anything that is anything like this, so we can't use it, so we're just going to have to do it from hand, just by hand, and just do it. So, you won't see something that looks like that again. It's something that's very unique to that scene, and it is very personalized to the person that drew it.
What's the purgatory?
Death.
It's where all the bad ponies go.
Or that. I don't think I should be awake yet.
I know that feeling.
Coffee will help.
My wife got up and asked why I was actually awake, and I said I made a bad life choice, and she's like, I'm going back to bed. I touched your stream exploded again.
Yep,
Oh,
it's
God,
running again.
Lord.
It should be back up
Okay.
shortly. I'm watching it.
Oh good, someone heard that I accidentally wrote things on invert.
Oh my god, Skype has an inverted push-to-talk function. So I'm in a Skype call and in this mumble at the same time. It's awesome.
Nice.
So, which ones are streaming right now?
Your boy Bob dude's in there somewhere.
I'm in the top right.
Hello, Champy.
Hi, Jumpy.
Yeah, the more I do vector work and the more I actually start wanting to do traditional work, the more I get frustrated with actually doing vector stuff. Because it is very sterile. And doing line work, specifically like this one I'm doing now, like it's really hard to convey like the emotion the piece has with just harsh lines.
Yeah, vector work is very the process is kind of dead in that it's a very slow process for every line. It's very specific. With traditional art, you have this kind of life, this kind of energy. With traditional, digital, whatever, that comes indicatively from the process, from just going quicker. The slower you work, the less life and more stiff your piece will have generally. I mean, you can keep that life going, you can keep it continuous, but it takes awareness.
I need to buy a tablet, I think. Or, yeah, drawing tablet.
Tablets are awesome. Pressure sensitivity is just so useful. So very, very, very useful.
After Everfree. Hopefully I'll make some money.
Oh, who knows?
Yeah.
I'm hoping to, too.
I forgot, yeah, you're gonna be, aren't there? You're gonna be there, aren't you?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Are you, you guys vendoring as well?
Yeah.
Half tables.
Yeah, I'm sharing a half table.
Seems like everybody has a half table, so there will be too many vendors, and so nobody will sell anything, but the con will think everything went okay.
Actually, they seem to have a pretty low vendor number.
I certainly hope so.
If it was anything like last year, like, there were not enough vendors last year.
Well, there weren't enough professional vendors last year. I think there were enough vendors, just not enough ones that had experience vending.
I mean, last year there was only 16 to 20 vendors.
I recall the number being quite a bit larger, but the fact that there were people there selling, 6 prints, and a few very, very, very specialized people. You get too specialized, the audience gets too small, and then nobody buys.
Yeah, I just went through their list. It does not look anywhere near as bad as what BabsCon was, so I think we're okay.
I certainly hope so.
Even though we did okay at BabsCon.
I really did. I made money, which was a lot better than I expected, honestly.
Yeah, I expected it to be another Nightmare Nights.
I've got 6 pieces I want to finish before Everfree, and it's like, wait a minute, I have to do those one a day, every day, in order to get everything shipped out.
So you have like 4 days. Don't have a lot of time left.
No, I gotta get things done. But first I wanted to do the first piece for my Ask log, which is what this is.
Plan on starting that as soon as I hit that 1,000 mark. Kind of like, 1,000, here, have something.
I'm going to be trying to get this Ask log started. I want to do quick painterly things. Just quick, messy, fun.
View. Is it alright if I ship the last few of your things? I think it's just the Octavia prints.
I need a number. You can ship those straight to Daz, but I need a number of how many are left, so I know how many to print.
Oh, sure thing. I'll just go count those now, actually.
Okay.
How many prints do you normally bring?
15 to 20 of each. I think I'm going to raise the number on a couple select prints that sold really well at BabsCon. But other than that, I'll keep it generally the same. I'm trying to sell out of a few prints because they're older, so they're cheaper and their numbers are just dwindling. So
Yeah, I'm bringing patches, and like I've never vended before at a convention, so I have no idea what to expect.
Generally, if you're pandering with your print, it does all right. If you have OCs and stuff, it doesn't do all right. If it's a very specific situation that's not common in canon, you'll have a more difficult time.
Yeah, I've got.
And if it's a joke, you'll do great. Jokes, which I don't understand at all because it's something that people are going to put on their wall. So why would you want to say that you're impulse buys? That's marketing. You're taking advantage of the fact that people make bad decisions.
I have military style patches for the New Lunar Republic, Solar Empire, and Twilight's new thing.
Empire of Friendship? I don't freaking know.
I called it the Dominion of Harmony.
What about Cadence?
I don't have one for Cadence because I couldn't come up with a good Crystal Empire style patch thing. All of my ideas for it just never got off the ground.
You throw me $15, we could throw some ideas back and forth, and I can get you something. I'm a good designer. But you do have to charge for my work because I'm poor.
I know that feeling.
I do art for free, but I'm just poor.
Yeah, I'm hoping to at least make my costs back. That would be nice.
Yeah, that's the goal for every convention, also. Make my costs back, hopefully raise awareness of the fact that I exist, and get a few commissions out of it. This time, though, I'm definitely going to print off my business cards. I completely forgot for BabsCon, and I lost like 20 people because of that. Not that people do more than follow with a business card, but some do. Some commission.
I am so proud of this night sky thing that I did out the window. Oh man. Yes. I love art. Oh, also part one ended 7 minutes ago.
So we're in the interim right now.
Yeah, we're in purgatory for a little while. I'll go check the schedule. Also, hey Tasha, I'll text you. Don't worry, buddy. Well, actually, I'm gonna go to lunch too. Shit.
I don't believe I have Tasha's number. I might. No, wait, it's in my old phone. It's dead. It's gone.
Next thing starts at 1 o'clock, and I need to go get showered. Yes. Oh, hold on.
Hello.
All right. The next thing is Art Critique, and that starts at 1 o'clock. And yeah, I'm gonna go get showered, grab some lunch.
I counted up those prints for you, View. Looks like it's mostly the sleeves.
Hey, Granitor.
Yes.
Gren, did you see my night sky out the window?
No.
It was pretty great, man.
Nope, you're gonna ruin it all. I know it.
Dude, look at this. Just look at that. Hold on, the stream will catch up in a second. Just look at that. Just look at that nice guy. That's some gorgeous stuff right there.
Whatever you say.
What's coming? Just give it a second.
Keep trying to make Twilight more red, and I have yet to succeed.
Finally, the stream catches up.
Streams never catch up.
The window is gorgeous.
would be fun if they could, though, and at some point they just predict the future.
At some point we just don't have the freaking lag. Gigabit internet services, no lag.
Oh, right, I was getting hour. Okay, I'll be back in... Actually, I'll probably miss the first part of critique. But I'll be back. I'll be back soon.
Since nobody's talking, I'm just going to go on about what I'm doing. Feel free to interrupt me, but not all that. So right now I'm doing a painting piece, so eventually all the outlines and sketch part are going to go away. And as with all things in art, I'm working general to specific, and I'm generally working dark to light. So I put this darker maroon on the pony, and now I'm working in a whole bunch of lighter pinks to get some highlights. Now I'm going to work back in the purple with an overlay layer just to get it to work. And the purpose of the pink right now on top of the maroon is to give the main body color. Basically, she's going to be very light. It's going to be more red. It also gives me a place to put cast shadows. Now, I'm not putting down cast shadows. I'm just basically putting down lights, and the cast shadows fall where they belong. It's a lot easier to me to put in the lights than to try and guess where all the shadows go. And so I work dark to light, and it's generally get a more believable volume that way.
That's how I do my paintings. I paint miniatures, and I start with my darks and then work up.
Mm-hmm.
It's easier to go from dark to light than light to dark.
And it's generally how people do traditional with oils. Now with acrylic and watercolor, you have to go light to dark because you can't work over it. And so it takes a lot more layering, a lot more specificity, and a lot more time. And things generally end up a bit airier, and you can't ever put blacks in unless you really, really, really work towards them. It takes a very long time to work towards a very, very dark in this medium. One of the wonderful things about pastel that I enjoy is that you can work both dark to light and light to dark. And so I work dark to light, and then you can, throw in cast shadows and all that stuff afterwards.
Look, a rabbit.
Really nice pastels. And working from dark to light gives you somewhere to come from. You don't have to draw everything. You already have your basic silhouette, and so you can just work from that silhouette and kind of bring out your lights instead of having to define lights, shadows, midtones everywhere. You already have your basic silhouette, and so things become defined as a part of the working process. Just kind of a weird shortcut, but it works. So no complaints. You may also notice that I'm flipping the angles on my piece all over the place. This is just to make it easier for me to draw, make it a little faster. I'm left-handed, so I can do, and from about noon to 4 o'clock on the clock, I can do that curve very easily. Right-handed people can usually do from about noon to 7 o'clock. Very indicatively. It's just how our hands curve. Does anybody have any questions on coloring or shading while I'm doing this coloring shading thing, so I can demonstrate now?
So I've never used Psy because I don't have a tablet, and it seems like you should probably have a tablet to use Psy.
You should definitely have a tablet to use Psy.
Yeah. What opacity do you use your brushes at?
So it doesn't have opacity, it has density, and I use it on full density because you can set the pressure settings so that the density varies based upon the pressure.
Okay. That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So do you go from...
Also, it has blending, dilution, and persistence, which are traditional.
Do you go from a full opacity to a zero opacity, but depending on pressure?
No. It depends on what your density is to start with. So since I have a high density, full density, I only get like the top range. But density, unlike opacity with Photoshop, it's not a percentage. You drop it down to 90 and all of a sudden it's like 60 in Photoshop percentages. So it works differently. Psy works as a more paint intuitive program rather than a hard fact math digital program.
Got it.
Which is why I enjoy it, because I'm used to more traditional methods. And it's also more intuitive for me. It makes a lot more sense, and it's less rigid, in my opinion.
The top right is inf looping.
Streams within streams within streams.
One of the things I really enjoy about working dark to light is the ability to rework it. Because you can work it, you can dark to light overall, and then you can rework in your darks, you can play with your colors, you can play with everything. It just works really well. That view is freaking huge. I should love it when you notice something halfway through finishing it, and you're like, wait a minute.
And with the vector thing, you just grab all the points and you shrink it down, and you're good.
It still applies in digital.
Welcome back, Aitosh.
The mod's back.
Hey.
Hide your illicit ponies.
Post ponies.
I always make this mistake with my sketches. I always make the ear too big and in the wrong position, and I need to figure out how to change my sketch process so that I don't do that. I also find that once you have a good foundation in whatever you're doing, it's a lot easier to just make stuff up on top of it. So as long as I have a good foundation of where things are and how they're structured, I can put in a stool over here and not worry about it. And once I've chosen my palette, all the shapes are really easily movable and flowing. And that's good because you don't want to ever be restricted. You don't want to say, okay, this is like this forever now. Next one I'm doing is good. Maybe some objects. I find life in colors is often due to overlays. And so I do a lot of overlays these days. These shadows to be really cool. But the moon is blue, so I have to respect that. So it's a lot easier to do overall effects. Nice. Where's Husi in all this? Isn't he supposed to get in at some point?
I'm thinking about it. I'm kinda distracted at the moment.
You doing our collaboration?
Well, no.
I'm gonna bug you about that until you do it, and that's just gonna have to be how it is.
It's out here somewhere. I guess. Hopefully.
We're so close to being done, it's starting to come together. It's just...
I know.
I put an overlay
so
layer in and it's shiny in the waterfall. I need to make it shiny in the foreground.
I just rimlight the shit out of it and call it finished.
It doesn't need that much though, it just needs a little bit here, a little bit there.
Needs rim lighting everywhere. And bloom. Just bloom and rim light everything.
Just lens flares. Lens flares everywhere.
Oh god, no. I hate lens flares. I absolutely... It takes me out of a piece to see a lens flare, it really does. It's really noticeable.
Well, that goes for every kind of super digital moves if you don't kind of blend them in. If they just pop out there like... Ugh.
Yeah. I don't know if I've ever actually seen a piece where a lens flare has made sense. Other than, photography where, you get lens flare because of a camera.
It's difficult to do a lens flare correctly.
That's an interesting style on the horn.
Right now I'm doing edge work, so I'm working on cast shadows and working on defining one edge that is in front of something else, what's behind. I'm just getting a little more specific with my background. I'm not worried about making it perfect. This is going to be a messy paint, and I should probably find a better brush to convey mess than a round one, because round ones, as Lucy said, looks like red.
What is Twilight reading?
A book. Generic book. There's going to be text over the images up there. It's the first piece of my Ask a Younger Pony Ask blog. And basically, I'm going to open the field up for people to ask questions to any of the canon ponies, and at a younger age than when the show started. So any age they want to pick. Because I have a very complicated headcanon. I'd like to flesh it out a bit. I'm sharing with people and probably hopefully get some attention out of it. And so the attention can give me some commission so I can pay rent and be like, yay, I'm not starving.
Not starving is good.
For the most
Yay,
part, I
food.
find it an enjoyable experience.
Get your ass back in here, Etosh.
You aren't allowed to leave. People can't leave the drawing school.
You're here forever.
Once you start arting, you just don't stop. It grips you.
Yeah.
Controls your life. The thing more painful than making art is not making art. Notice as I get more specific with things, I can still do very large brush strokes. And right now I'm looking in the color of the light, and I can look in the color of the room. And there's lots of colors to work in. Just getting a little more specific with my edges, and a little more playful, and a little more active. Speak up. I suppose I am a bit quiet. Okay, I didn't quite catch that.
You gotta yell in teaching.
Cannot yell. I'm a quiet man.
It's almost like the BabsCon panel again. The mic setup for that was kind of hilarious.
That was bad.
What was the setup for BabsCon?
View's
we
mic
turned
was
my
set.
mic volume all the way, and I was still the quietest one. I'll try to be a little more enunciating here, but
I didn't need a mic.
So.
I know, I can hear you from here without the mic.
This is still the intro, isn't it? The break between doing stuffs. And right now I'm doing the eye, and what I like to do with eyes to get the maximum amount of contrast with them is start with a very, very dark, like their original color, so a very, very dark purple in there, and a very, very light purple, and then I switch hues a little bit towards pink, forming the highlight, similar to the way the show does it. And then, like that, going to put in a bit of yellow. Now, a lot of people like to distinguish the individual lines of veins in the eye, but what I've found is, looking in the mirror, is that those aren't really all that visible upon impression in the upper part of the eye, because the upper part of the eye is always shadowed from the eyelid. Because most light sources are from above. And so you get that wonderful shadow that covers up and you can't see the veins. And so we have this kind of streaky part towards the bottom, towards the middle. You can see that, and it works. I don't like that highlight, so it's going away. Bye, highlight. You too. So we can get something a little more soft. Yeah. Something on the sclera. Scleras are important, that's the light of your eye. And just barely being able to see something on the outside. And I have to remind myself to keep this kind of a quick manual thing, because if I spend an hour and a half doing one piece, I'm going to have to do that for every piece from then on out to keep the quality consistent. I don't want to do that. So I'm going to keep things quick. Quick, painting, no playful. I'm still not playing with my brushes. Somebody else speak, I'm starting to ramble.
I'm just listening.
I'm just sleeping.
For some reason I keep waking up really early in the morning.
I'm pondering if I should try to do art myself or if I should play a game.
You should do art yourself.
Do both at the exact same time. I would be
Play
impressed.
Bastion and use it as a reference.
Do art. We need more streams.
I can't get my stream to work.
Smack it harder.
If I smack it harder, it breaks.
Buy a new one.
This stream actually has viewers. I don't want to stream for people.
Oh, come on. You can do it, Coder.
I just, when I was on there, I was literally just sitting there looking at a vector screen for probably the majority of the time. They can do what I do and just open up a stream and not do anything.
Let me get my tablet. I'll be right back.
Okay, when Pandora first became a big thing, I got it, and I started a station, and it was the Nobu Uematsu station. And they didn't have anything from any video games. They had nothing. And I recently went back to the station, like 10 years later, and now they have all sorts of video game stuff, so it's like a whole new station. I'm enjoying it.
So I just got a new microphone, so can people hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, cool, since it's a desktop microphone, so I don't know how good it's gonna work.
It's okay.
Now this will be annoying. I think I'll have to turn off push to talk in order to talk while arting.
That's pretty much what View does.
Yep.
And there pretty much my power thingy went into the floor. I have no idea how good that was. Okay. Does this work?
Sounds good to me.
Awesome. I turned off push to talk.
Yeah, my old microphone, old headset was spitting out static in my headphones, so it was not working.
Give me like 5 minutes to finish this piece up, but then I have to go get food at the store because my roommate's going to the store. So I will have to go for a little bit.
I am gonna AFK for a couple minutes.
I guess we need more streamers.
I want it. Just don't expect a masterpiece. Good. I think I should be live. Let me check.
Oh well, I guess I'm done with this traditional shit for now. I could try something.
Hey look, I'm live. I need to wash my screen and wait. What the?
Alright, you're up, Coder.
Yay. How do I press enter on this thing? Oh, come on. And this is eating the CPU of my tablet. Let me check.
Oh god, that looks painful.
What? More information. CPU. Google Drive? Why is Google Drive using all my CPU? Die. Thank you. Good. Forest. Images. Wait, why am I putting up my references on my tablet? This doesn't make sense. I have a desktop in front of me. I have no idea how to draw landscapes. I'll just sketch a pony. What should I draw?
Something.
I know.
Ask Funland.
Yes, ask Fineline.
Fine line. Is she in the Justin TV chat?
No.
Isn't Justin TV IRC?
No! Oh!
I don't know, actually. It might be.
Octavia Melody sipping snips.
I know some streaming service was IRC, and I forget what it was.
I know Ustream is.
Is this a safe for work stream?
It is.
Okay, then I can't do that prompt, because the only thing I can think of is not safe for work. Ooh!
What the hell? Why would...
Burning salts. Isn't that like making bright colors and stuff?
Sounds good to me.
Salt burning.
I remember when in chemistry there were salt in alcohols, I think, that our teacher burned. Those had interesting colors.
Yeah, I wanna know a nice salt that looks like creating flame colors with salt. Look, I want green, so cupric sulfate. How do I draw cupric sulfate? Cupric. It looks like a blue crystal that generates green flames. So basically Celestia put the Crystal Empire on fire.
I like it.
No. That's sort of the prompt.
Oh hey, it's Leonardo.
Yep. It's actually really good for my tablet because it's not that resource intense.
Yeah, he still hasn't gotten back to me on the double monitor problem I'm having.
Oh, yeah, he sort of went on vacation shortly after sending out the invites for 3 weeks.
Alright.
He actually emailed me while he was on vacation. I was kind of surprised.
Yeah, he's a pretty dedicated developer, but I don't think he can really solve a double monitor problem while on vacation. I'm trying to
No.
Good. Oh, wait.
Yeah, I just sent a little glitch that I noticed to him and expected him to get to it when he got back. And nope, he replied to me and said he couldn't really do anything about it, but he'd look into it.
Yeah,
my
I'm a
handwriting
developer,
is
so I
so
understand
good. Can't I just do a how do I draw a sketch of a pony? Like a crystal. Isn't the crystal like transparency and stuff? Which can't be really.
Yeah, you can pretty much ignore that in your sketch.
Yeah, but I was thinking the Crystal Empire is big. Like, big, and I can't draw backgrounds for shit. I should learn at some point, but I don't want to learn in a stream where a lot of people is watching me.
Well, if you're not going to do a background, you'll have to have some foreground objects that maybe she's interacting with that make it clear that she's in the Crystal Empire.
Yeah, I'm looking for Crystal Empire stuff that's iconical, and the thing I found is pretty much this large tower. No, the Crystal Heart! That's a blue crystal!
Ooh, maybe she smashed it.
No, she's burning it.
Smash it and then burn it.
Cadence is gonna be pissed.
Crystal Heart MLP. And... huh.
Oh crap, I need to go to that grad party, so I'll see everyone later in like 3 hours or so.
See you.
Alright, later.
Bye, Kai. And this is sort of a Crystal Heart reference picture. Let's find. Oh no, Celestia is a pain to draw. I have no experience with the proportions of full-grown alicorns.
References.
Yeah, I'm looking up a Celestia reference, but yeah. How do I remove this? Select, edit, delete. Look, it worked. No, I want the brush. Wait, am I in full screen now? That's not fun. Anyway, where's my references? I lost there. There's one. Let's put that one view image and like that. And where did Celestia go? I lost Celestia. There she is. And alicorn anatomy maybe. Is there no good? Oh look, awesome. Here we have a nice view image. And we'll put that one like there. And This doesn't look quite right. Well, actually it does, never mind. Wait, I have to get used to the tools again. Yes, good. Let's go to 25% and go like that. Good.
Whoa, what was that context menu you were bringing up?
Oh, this one. Well,
yeah,
the stream is. It's a Wacom thingy.
Oh, okay. I was thinking it was Leonardo.
No, it's when I put. I only have one button, and I want to have undo and right click. So if I click context menu on that menu, I get the context menu in Leonardo because it's right to see, and undo is the undo.
Cool.
So it's Wacom thing, not Leo thing.